All right, it's February 2026. Just four beacon charts I'm going to show you this month. Then we're going to dive into some MLS data. We're going to look at some national data. And then at the very end, I want to show you an example of a current listing in Bend that might help you kind of better understand what buyers and sellers are thinking right now. All right, so first we'll take a look at the median home price here. According to the Beacon report, down to 680. This is the lowest that we've seen in quite a while. Again, as I say, every single month we have to take this with a grain of salt. It is the median. So at a glance, looking at the number of sales chart, it looks pretty dramatic at the tail end of this graph. January of last year was actually pretty good, 111 sales. But look at January of 2024, there was also 89. January of 2023, there was 84. So though it looks a little dramatic on this chart, the number of sales is actually pretty normal for what we've seen the last few years. So we'll segue into days on market as well. As usual, we see the days on market go up in the winter and then it goes down in the summer. But in this graph, you can see over the last few years, even in the summer, the days on market has remained a little bit elevated. I think that's going to continue to be the case as we move into this summer. Okay, so now we'll look at supply, 2.5 months, again, seasonal, right? We're going to see this number go up. I'll bet we definitely hit 5 months, maybe 6 months of inventory this year. I keep saying it. I really think we're going to see a lot of inventory this spring and summer. Okay, so that's enough of the Beacon report. I'm going to show you the data that I pull every week, and this is straight out of the multiple listing service. Just a snapshot of the last 30 days. So this current week, 369 active listings. Again, these are single family homes under an acre in Bend. DOM stands for days on market, so 96 for the active number of days. So I found this really great chart, and I think I'm going to just keep using this every month. This is straight from the Freddie Mac website. Year ago, interest rates were about 6.8. Right now, about 6.09. So they have improved over the last year. I think I said it in last month's newsletter. I think we'll see it get below 6 into the 5s, but I think even 5.5 for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage would probably be a huge triumph for this year. So the number of sales we had in 2025, at least here locally, was a little bit better than what we saw in 2024. But if we look at the snapshot of the entire United States, now these are existing home sales, so not new construction, but take a look at this from 2020 to 2025. Now in 2021, those were the highest number of sales since 2005. And what's interesting now, since 2023, we've had the fewest number of sales since the mid-90s. Okay, so taking that data, those two separate graphs that we just looked at, and if we kind of lay that data together, here's what we get. When you look at number of sales, which is in the solid white line there, versus interest rate, or mortgage rate in the dotted line. Look at how this has changed. Back in 2020, you had 3.11% was the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage, and 5.64 million sales nationwide. Now here we are in 2025. I mean, that script is completely flipped. Okay, so the very last thing I'm going to show you, this is an example, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but you're going to see the address of this property that's listed in Southeast Bend. This is not picking on anybody. This is just an example of all that data that we just looked at, and what appears to be the peak of the market was in 2022. So take a look at this. There's a lot of data here, a lot of things to look at, so I'm going to try to break it down. If you go to the bottom line there, and it says price, $534,000 is what this home sold for, and now scrolling to the right, in 2017. And it took, DOM stands for days on market, it took just 4 days for that home to sell. And all the way to the far right is the original list price. So originally it was at $529, and in 4 days it sold at $534,900. That was in 2017. It was probably because there was a seller credit worked in there. Maybe there was multiple offers and it got bid up a little bit, but I'm betting it was more of seller credit. Okay, next line up, sales price $577,500. That was in July of 2020, and that took 66 days. And look over there to the right, the original list price was $599,500. So they came down a little bit over the course of 2 months and sold that house at $577,000. Now look up at the next line. So in 2022, this same exact home, nothing's changed to this home. It sold for $944,000 in just 6 days in June of 22. And then all the way to the right, you'll see its original list price was $925. I'm almost certain that it probably had multiple offers and it was bid up to $944. Now here we are. This home is actively listed on the market 3 years later for $910,000. It has been on the market for 227 days and its original list price was $1,025,000. Okay, so I know that was a lot to process, but obviously you can go back, pause the screen. Hopefully I did a decent job explaining what you're looking at there. But I just wanted to point this out because I am seeing this constantly. There's so many homes in Central Oregon, in Bend, that this has happened to, that you saw this dramatic increase in price during those COVID years. And now many of these homes are selling for less than what people paid for them in 2022. That's nobody's fault. Nobody can time the top of the market or the bottom of the market. And it's just what happens. But for a seller, I think it's important to think about this when you go to market your home. Now, if you've owned your home for 20 years, it's a little bit different. But if you have recent sales data of what you paid for your home in 2020 or 2022, it's important to take these type of things into consideration. This is what buyers are seeing. And so this is a buyer's mentality when they look at these homes. I keep telling my clients, they want the house to be perfect, their dream home, or feel like they got a good deal, or hopefully a combination of those. So the reason you're seeing the days on market pile up, the reason you're seeing the price reduction so prevalent is exactly because of this story. This is very common right now. All right, that's all I have for you. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry if that was a lot to digest, and I look forward to talking to you guys next month.